good one for you, Pastor Brent.
You do?
Yes, you know about Lent, right?
Yeah, I had a bit of Lent on my...
No, I mean Lent. Yeah, that's funny. So here's a winner. Don't give up chocolate for Lent. Guess what day it starts on this year?
I give up.
Valentine's Day. So don't give up chocolate
Give
for
up
Lent.
the roses, but not the chocolate.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
I thought that was actually kind of funny.
Yeah.
Because Lent, you have to give something up, right? So don't give up chocolate for Lent on Valentine's Day.
Yeah, and Pastor Grant, you know how Jamaicans like their Reubens served?
Oh, Jamaicans like their
Reubens served
Oh.
on Rastafari.
I heard that.
You couldn't have because you just made that up today.
Let's see if we can find some music for later. Aha. We'll try that later, this one.
No, because so it might be really smoky in here, but after during the meditative time, then yeah, we will do it. How are you doing? Good, sleepy.
Well, I'm not sure if we're ready to start. This is going to go out live on Facebook or something. And surprisingly enough, we're getting thousands of hits now.
Nice.
Well, I didn't know that. So don't worry, you won't be seen. That kind of thing. It's only me that has to stick my neck out, which is why So let's see if we're ready to go. I don't know that we are. If we are, hello, but I'm going to go check. Forgive me.
He likes to actually wait until after the service because not a whole lot of people
There's
can
a
get around it.
there's a meditation.
Yeah, there's a meditation after the service. And then you can
It's kind of in the middle.
Yeah, and for me, I can't be around any sativa island in Florida, so most the majority of people smoke sativa, and so I have to actually leave them because it's like it's counteractive with what I'm doing for myself. Yeah, sure.
By the way, food for thought later. If you walk past this, there's a cord holding this whole thing together that I'm sure to trip on, so you can enjoy it
This is
too.
our band.
Woo!
Oh, nice. Oh, nice.
So this is the second album. He's
That's the
wearing
third
the
album.
third album. And then the first album is Swatting the Dog. So you guys like electronic
All right, let's do this thing.
music? That's what we create.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the Coachella Valley Church 2142, the Alameda in San Jose, where our mission is to provide community leadership, sermons, and sacraments for our daily life. Our topic today is releasing the shackles of shame. Whoa, isn't that heavy?
That's
But, we got to do it. We're going to go deep and see if we can get some levity, a bit more levity in our lives. There's nothing wrong with that. The Lord hath made this day. Let us rejoice and be glad within it. Would your ancestors, your upline, your grandparents, great-grandparents, would they want you to be unhappy? Of course not. Be their greatest desire, greatest dream, if they knew that we, us, are being fulfilled right at this moment. One way to do that is to release ourselves from self-judgment and the past. Good morning. Thanks for coming in. Good morning. Releasing ourselves from the shackles of shame. Now that does require a bit of definition, a bit of groundwork here. For guilt says, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. Dang. But shame says, I am the mistake. Huge difference. And they overlap just enough to be confusing. And even in our language, we say, oh, you must be ashamed of that, or but you feel guilty about that. And it's kind of hard to figure out sometimes, which it is. But there is a vast difference between the two. Shame imperils our happiness, our transcendence, our ability to receive gifts of God's love for us. Shame will just absolutely make us feel unworthy, even of the highest that we could aspire to, because we think, not mine. It's not me. I'm not worthy of love. I'm not worthy of God's love. I'm not worthy of the love and the respect of my teachers and everybody around me because I'm going to swear for a minute here. I heard a phrase a while ago that I thought quite humorous. And it said, hello, please be aware that you are not a piece of shit at the center of the universe. Sometimes it feels like, sometimes it feels so bad. And sometimes we link it up even to aspects of depression. And sometimes it's possible to be so depressed you can't even turn your head to the side to get out of bed to put your foot flat on the floor. That's how debilitating depression is. And that can come right as a result of carrying a residual amount of shame. Damn it. So what are the aspects of shame? Well, it differentiates also by gender. One aspect of shame for a woman is that a woman must be nice, thin, modest, ladylike, graceful, and even available. That's the challenge. Damn it. For men, pride. We have to be work-orientated. We have to be purposeful. We have to be strong. We have to go for status, make things work. I can do this. And when we're up against that kind of feeling of shame, that's such a hard journey, and we fake it. We fake it all the time. And we try to be pretentious. We try to be controlling. We try to do all those things that hide the fact that our baseline lack of worth. Damn it. That's a lot, isn't it? But let's talk about today. Let's talk a bit about the precursors of how to navigate in this building and out in the world. I am very grateful, absolutely over the moon, that the law has changed regarding cannabis. By the way, I prefer the word cannabis sativa, the Latin name, instead of the prejudicial marijuana that puts us down below the border and puts people in a certain category of they're not like us. Cannabis is neutral as a scientific name. Let's start using that. We're not going to use pot, we're not going to use bong, we're not going to use any of those things that stereotypically put people into a box. However, as I'm very grateful that the law has absolutely changed, because we're not going to be thrown into jail again, have lives ruined of hundreds of thousands of people, because after they're in jail, they're not going to find getting a job as easy. So it ruins lives economically and socially for something that has been with us for hundreds and hundreds of years. Now, in order to release that problem, we have to decriminalize it. In other words, we have to make it recreationally available. That's the phrase. Well, that's good. It is, however, in my estimation, a double-edged sword. When we use cannabis on a daily basis, it's a bit like masturbation. No creation. It feels good. The music is great. The poetry is great. The interactions is great. But it doesn't go anywhere after a while. I did have a housemate who was sitting on the couch, not using the M-word there, but sitting on the couch doing the wake and bake. Wake and bake. You get up, you wake, and you start to bake in your barn. Well, is that okay? Well, yeah, it is for a short period of time, but I think this wave right now of recreation available is going to last about 10 years, and people are going to move on and say, well, I've done that. I did that for a while. It was cool, but, what's really happening in my life? Am I spending too much time in my chair? Well, I have. And in my own depression, I will confess that in the past, and sometimes even now, I will sit down in my chair. Welcome, come on in. I'll sit down in my chair and ruminate. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
And I will ruminate all manner of things, which is called not getting anything done. I spend too much time in the ethereal, too much time in that world, and I realize, damn it, I got to get out of the house and go and check and see if my neighbors are doing okay. I got to get out there and make contact, and guess what? when I do, I feel so much better. Now let's try that. Let's break some isolation today. Let's meet one another. I'd like you to shake hands with somebody you don't know, and maybe everybody in the room. Yeah, let's mix about now. This is working. Remember, break isolation. All right. So before we move, doesn't it feel a bit better? Doesn't it feel better to break isolation? And by the way, something I do, a trick I'm going to challenge you all now to consider, something I try to do almost every day myself for years. If somebody once challenged me to do it, I'm going to challenge you also. Sometimes during the day, you're going to see somebody that's really indulgent like this, doing all that kind of body language. Maybe they're down to Starbucks and nursing their third coffee or something. But you'll know, maybe on a park bench, or maybe just going out shopping. You got to be careful you target the right person. And this is what I do. Could you bear with me? Could you stand up for a second? I'm going to pretend you're that stranger. Come forward. What is your name? Andy. Andy. Thank you, Andy. You see, I'd go up to Andy if he's in a park bench or on a patio somewhere. And Andy is certainly like this. You know, he's thinking about life. He's really in his head. He's in, right? Let's say, excuse me. You know, I have an agreement with myself that once a day, I'm just going to walk up to a complete stranger and wish you well for you and your family. That's it. Thank you. Then I walk away. Now, if I look out of the corner of my eyes at that target person, quite often they're going. And it makes me feel good. And the whole idea, I walk away quickly so Andy cannot suspect that I'm going to try to sell him life insurance, religion, a philosophy. I don't want anything from him, but I just want to make that contact with another human being. Now my goal is someday, I don't know when, I'm going to be sitting on the other side of the world somewhere. Name a country, come on, quick.
Germany. Okay,
I'm going to be sitting somewhere in Munich or something, or you know, something like that. And I'm going to be sitting down at Starbucks, right? And I'm going to be sitting there and going, and somebody's going to come up to me and say, excuse me, I haven't agreed with myself, and one day I'm just going to walk up to a complete stranger, and I hope I can speak German by that time, and wish you well. I think the loop has been closed.
Right.
And I want more. And I want more. I want to see a world of people interacting together for no reason other than just goodwill. A good idea?
Yeah.
Now, if we're going to do that, we have to target the person ourselves accurately. You're not going to go up to somebody who's very troubled, you know, who's in psychosis or who's drunk or on drugs or in you know, all that. We don't want to do that. You'll know who it is. Now, if you're a woman, you got to be very careful about that too, for reasons that only women will understand. You know, you don't want the men out there to misinterpret or something. If you're a guy, you also have the same problem again. You know, don't find the prettiest lady you can find. Come on, guys. No, and don't find somebody that's many, many years younger than yourselves either, because they're going to be kind of threatening. And don't do it to someone else who is, well, I think you'll know, your intuition will tell you, and you target that person, and you walk away, and it feels good. So I've done this hundreds of times now, and guess what? I've never, ever been refused a handshake, not once. Never. And the lowest level, that would be the Ebola bump, you know, like, you know, that kind of thing. And that's good. That's good in that culture that wants to do that. Kind of cool. So, breaking isolation. I want to talk to you about driving and safety. Recreational stuff, it's great. But I don't hear about anybody driving under the influence. Not a good idea. You know, when you get the medicine that says, do not operate heavy machinery. do not have weed and drive. I don't know what it is. But we don't want to do that. And if ever you've been involved in a car accident or seen death on the road, have you ever had anybody that died in your arms, as I have, in a car accident? you know it's pretty heavy stuff, and it can happen when you least expect it. So let's not increase the odds. Even today, I want to make sure that if you imbibe any cannabis today in our sacrament here, you don't drive immediately. You get your friend to drive, designated driver, or you call Uber, because that's going to protect you, the public, and this church. Agreed? So, yes?
Or hang out on the porch out here for a little while.
Yeah. Let's not be too public out there, too. Okay, no loitering, as the saying goes. You know, let's use our common sense about this. I can't remember, somebody else, you reminded me of Michael, too, about that. Oh, yes. If you do get into your car, have your medicine in the trunk, because you wouldn't have a bottle of alcohol that's open there, because that's in the fence. So cover yourselves. Put all your medicine unopened in the trunk, and you'll be good to go. Okay? Good for thought. And if not, imagine that you get in your car and you're putting on your seatbelt and you look in your rear view mirror, and you'll see me going. Okay, you got the engine memory now? Okay, so check in your rear view mirror. I'm there somewhere. Shame itself is a strangulation of your soul. It's a wet blanket over all your proceedings. Strangely enough, shame is nothing more than a misinterpretation of thought. That's all it is. It's a misinterpretation of thought. Now, today we want to consider we can wipe away shame by taking a shining light, a spiritual light, into that dark corner of our life. Let's bring consciousness in what appears to be a private and personal dungeon. However, you might find some friends who are down there with you. There's a lot of people. You might even make new friends to be in misery with. Melancholy loves company. Shame just says, yeah, I know how you feel, me too. Well, let's stop that. Let's stop that indulgence. So, how does it come to be that we produce shame if it's a misinterpretation of our language? Well, let's look at the positive parts of guilt. We usually think guilt is negative. Guilt is not negative. It's a feedback on life that says, oh, I can't go there. That feels pretty crummy. I really feel guilty about that. I shouldn't have done that. Damn it. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. Well, I got some really good news for you about guilt. It can be very, very temporary. And here's the way to consider it that I have found too. If I'm guilty, I realize that, oh, I've learned that lesson. I don't have to do that again. Oh, I'm free. I don't have to feel bad about being guilty. It's gone like that. Because I'm not going to do that again, which made me feel bad. Going down that road, I don't have to. Wow! Kind of cool idea. This guilt is very instrumental because it's adaptive to our experience of being alive. The last thing a psychologist is going to tell us is that we want to get rid of guilt. That's called being a psychopath. No guilt, no shame. Woo! Stay away from that kind of people. They're not going to be the best kind of people to be around because they will repeat their behavior at your expense because they have no stopgap of guilt to pull them back and to make them consider. So if we say, I made a mistake, damn it, can you find it in your heart to forgive me? Can I forgive myself? Yeah, because I'm not doing that again. And we can bring up this guilt and shame from all those years ago. Again, it'll come up. I had one hit me this morning while I was shaving. I remembered an old girlfriend when I was about 24. We broke up. And even today, I think, I hope her life worked out better than what I was offering her. I really do. So the shame that was in there that came up this morning, not even from 45 years ago or whatever it was. But at the moment, if we process guilt in the good way, say, whoops, I'm never going to treat anybody like that again. Never going to do that again. Never am I going to do that aspect of a poor relationship in that way. Sometimes you might remember things that, oh, I can't believe I did that. Lying in bed, oh, damn. Well, to process that. That means you've actually learned that lesson. It's time to forgive yourself and move on. So if shame is an idea, it's an inversion of guilt. And it hits us hard and it stays because it makes us feel, I'm not worthy, I'm not a good person. And the self-talk degenerates into a spiral that puts us in the dungeon and we're shackled in there. Not a good place. And the idea that will come up is two questions. Why am I never good enough? That's what shame says. Why am I not good enough? And the other one is you try to get, who do you think you are? You want to be a big shot? Yeah, I do. Who do you think you are? Trying to be successful and happy when you've done some bad things. So you think. But the bad things that we have done, I guarantee you, was probably the best decision that you had at the time with the information that you had, and you went on from there. I don't know anybody that actually sets out to do evil, bad things. I'm sure they do exist, but I don't feel I've ever met them. So let's stop that idea of shame. Let's take those shackles off, because it's nothing more than a mindset that says, I'm not good enough. The Lord hath made this day. Let us rejoice and be glad within it. I like to say the Lord's Prayer myself at least twice a day. It's such a powerful tool. That's one of the fastest ways to, I find, to get aligned. So given we're in the church, let us align ourselves to the highest possibilities of spirit. So would anybody like to lead us in the Lord's Prayer?
Our Father, who art in heaven,
Hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven.
Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, power, and glory forever. Now if you go back in your own time and you actually see it written down, you analyze sentence by sentence, it's an extraordinary workshop in itself. Forgive us our trespasses as I forgive those who trespass against me. I can forgive them their so-called shame. And quite often that shame is nothing more than a defensiveness for acting out, trying to be in control, trying to be a man, trying to be a woman, trying to act out a stereotypical idea that covers up our shame. Shame is coercive. It quite often contains elements. I wrote it down here. We'll see if I can find it as a good description. Gotta find it. But shame itself is about controlling and covering up a feeling of not being worthy. But I want you to know something. We are worthy in God's eyes.
Amen.
We are. And we are forgiven when we embrace the Christ consciousness. Christ did the work for us. We identify. And you relax. You are worth it. Would God want us to be unfulfilled and unhappy? It's time to shine. Time to shine. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before everyone, that they may see your good deeds and praise your Father who art in heaven. Shame is like a wet blanket. Let's get going and build resistance to shame. When that comes up as an idea, it's only an idea and a misinterpretation, and we don't have to buy into it. Let's build some muscle to fight back against that aspect of shame. Now also too, we have found that shaming children is one of the worst things you can do. It stops their growth almost immediately. Maybe some of you have experienced that by getting shamed in the classroom or at home from somebody or even playmates. It's enough to that day just bring you down to a level of just not good. Shame. Now we hear a lot about online now about fat shaming. Well, I agree with them. Or shaming for the race that they are. You got to be kidding. What? And to shame a child is to actually destroy their spirit. Who do you think you are? Come on, you got to be kidding. You? I once had somebody say to me in high school, I thought, I'd like to be a scientist one day. He said, you must be kidding. Come on. Forget that. Well, some of my colleagues did go on from high school. Some were very successful and some not. And the ones who were successful, I would suggest to you that they were finding a way to release themselves from those inner thoughts of shame. McAllister, who was, a military man not too long ago. Buff Blunt, I remember he just played basketball in high school. He went on to be a major general, leading the greatest artillery advance ever in human history, right up toward Baghdad. I thought, Buff, if somebody would have said to him, look, you're just a weed. You play basketball, come on, let's go and have a beer. But he didn't listen to that. And there's many people out there who have excelled and become astronauts because nobody held them back. So let's stop shaming one another. The worst that we can say, if you're having reaction, you can say, oh, that's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. A good argument could be made for that. The future's unlimited for all of us. Tell me how you get on with it. To support our kids. If you have a child, say a daughter or something, and somebody comes up and say, oh, aren't you cute? Aren't you pretty? Teach them to say, and smart too. And they will get it. And every time they get praise for their appearance, and I'm smart too. Well, all right. Kind of cool. Young men, same kind of thing too. Same kind of thing. I once had a teacher tell me that when I was about 10 years old, he says, you really have rounded shoulders. Very, very hurtful thing. Like there was a judgment. Well, yeah, at that age, I did have rounded shoulders. So, look at me now, dude. Black belt in martial art years ago. But shame will inhibit us, and it hurts so bad. Let's not do that to others, but primarily today, let's not do it to ourselves. Is that an agreement?
Amen.
Okay, good. So I'm going to pass around a few things that we're going to have a little experiment on this. Take a piece of paper. Let's see. Who needs a pen?
Hey, Pastor Grant. Can I just add one? Can I just add one?
Yes, please do. Michael's going to add something here too.
Self-flagellating yourself with shame. Self-flagellation with shame is scientifically proven to hardwire those events into your brain.
Yes.
So that you just continue to keep reliving them over and over again.
Yes.
So beating yourself, like that is not good for your health.
Down. Yes, sir.
Great.
All right.
And
Okay, And let's see. Now, we won't need a pen for very long, so just pass it on when you're done. Let's see.
All those one-liners might be that everybody in here.
All right, now here's a funny thing. We're going to see if we can really bust something now. I said it's time to go deep because we want freedom in our lives. That's what we're about. We're building community in this church. It's about intellectual, emotional, spiritual freedom. So it does take a bit of work from time to time. So again, go back and read the Lord's Prayer. Go back and actually do these things. Okay. Now, what I want you to do is to write, and I make sure that nobody else can see this. I want you to write a couple of words, or maybe one sentence, of what you're deeply ashamed about. Dig deep now. Be careful, don't let anybody see it. And if you write just one word, that's fine. Or 3 or 4 words, that's fine too. I'll give you a minute to do that. Make it quick so you can get in there real fast. Okay, all finished? Okay, let's keep going now. Keep going, because I guarantee you it's there. And we want to name it so we can release it. NOW stands for,
Now.
which stands for Name Our World. If you can name the problem, if you can name the emotion, you stand back from it one time. And that gives you just enough breathing space. So we're going to name the shame right now. A good idea? Okay, everybody finished? Okay, keep going. Who hasn't finished? Oh, that's a shame. See, it's that fast. The words that we use, it's that fast. We have to be very careful about that. It isn't a shame. You're taking your time. You're digging deep, and I acknowledge you for that. Now, name our worlds. Name the emotion or the mindset or the upset, and you distance yourself from it immediately, and you can breathe into that space. Just give you just a bit of room so we don't have a knee-jerk reaction to it. How we all doing? Anybody left? Anybody want a few more seconds?
Me.
Okay, all right. Oh, that pen doesn't work?
No, it's okay. I got it.
Okay, you got it? Okay, good.
Do you want to back up?
Yeah, then pass all the pins forward. Well, thank you. Pins away. Pins away. It's all good to go. All right, now I want you to fold that in half. Fold it again into quarters. And can you make it even tighter? Maybe one more fold?
Yeah.
Now, at most churches, they pass the hat for money. I ain't gonna do that here. We're just gonna, we can take the shame away. Pass that around, and don't take any out. Don't take no shame. No, that'd be pity. So while you're doing that, let's consider a few more words. Let's consider the word pity. You hear people say, oh, that's a pity. What they're really saying is, I'm not going to do anything. If you see a person that's really down and out and homeless or something, and they're going through psychosis or something, you say, oh, that's a pity. Because you know you can't do anything about it. At least that is the feeling. Thanks, sir.
You need one of those tumbler bastards.
Like the bingo ball.
Okay, who wants to draw one of these and read it? Anybody else want to? And I think a few of you probably might recognize handwriting. No, not
That's
yet.
the blind guy.
I'll read one.
Do we really want to do that? Do you really want to be involved in that kind of thing? Because it might be yours. Do you really want to process all that stuff? Do you really?
Yes.
Why?
Or you can just burn
Because
it.
it
If
helps
it's only,
you move
if those
forward.
things are nothing more than a misinterpretation of your own mind, just let it go.
But it helps me move forward when I can help someone else.
Maybe, but travel with me for a while on this
Okay?
one. If shame is nothing more than a misunderstanding of your own communication, maybe we can just let the whole damn thing go. Maybe we don't need to indulge about it. Maybe you are worthy. Maybe I am worthy with my rounded shoulders.
So does it matter? This doesn't matter anymore?
I think so. So what if I'm not as smart as Einstein? Oh my God, I'm ashamed that I don't have a high IQ. Right? So what if I'm average? Is there anything wrong with that? So what if I'm not a movie star? So what if I'm not rich and famous by the time I'm 25? Come on. It's all mind chatter, and we can decide just to let go of it. For shame is just a wet blanket that we put on everything because we say, I'm not worthy of happiness nor success. No, that's not true. Consider this point. Every role that we play is a false identity. Every position is actually an insecurity. Every should is a projection of morality. Every ology is the mind's indulgence of facts. Every ought is personal blackmail. Every could is a fantasy. I could do that. A fantasy of an unearned reward. Every would is a projection of hope that also denies personal power. Stop. Breathe. You do not need to be someone else in order to be yourself. Let's be ourselves. Everyone else is taken. Take a walk, a tree, a river, a rock, a desert, or by still water. And drink in the stillness and in love with God. Express this energy as gratitude for the flowering of our consciousness. Know the truth. For as you purge yourself of drama and confusion, it may not end all the pain and the sorrow, but it will end the unnecessary guilt and the shame. Open to being, just simply being. That's good enough. And watch as your awareness lights the path and guides your soul home. If you tarry, let it be with empathy to assist another. If you fall, look up and see me at the end of the journey, for I am also you. A wise man wrote that poem years ago. There's a huge difference between shame and guilt. Again, shame is highly addictive, highly correlated with addiction, depression, violence, aggression, bullying, suicide, and eating disorders. And here's what you need to know even more. Again, guilt is the ability to hold something we've done or failed to do up against who we want to be and correct our own behavior. Guilt is a very positive thing in this life. Isn't that a cool thing? And when you see that, we can let go of the guilt immediately. You say, I'm not doing that. I learned a lesson. I'm moving on. I'll go do something else that's more productive. Repressed shame may trigger anger or boasting behind a personality that appears to be rigid and judgmental. Do we know any politicians like that? The belief is that what I'm really like or what happened to me would not be acceptable to others. Why? Because a basic fear of all children and most adults is the fear of abandonment. If they knew who I was in my shame, they wouldn't like me. Well, it's time to take a risk because we can drop all that. People need to be in a psychologically safe place. And we can provide that for each other, especially in relationships. We can go to counseling, whether it's professional, psychologist, psychiatrist, pastoral, or just therapeutic. Or maybe just call a good friend. Or maybe the people closest to you. Maybe that's really the place to go, because as we take that risk, they're going to see us differently. They're going to see in our vulnerability the capacity for intimacy and going deeper. And quite often, that is the whole basis of a long-term relationship and companionship through marriage. Wow, what an idea. Let us disassociate ourselves from the past. There are a few things in common in the solution. 3 ideas to get rid of shame. Talk to yourself like you talk to someone that you love. Someone that you love. Are you going to beat them up? Of course not. You're going to give them all the support. Let's put ourselves on the list of people whom we love. And when we talk to ourselves in our world, let's come to that place of giving ourselves the love that we need. Secrets intensify the shame. Oprah had a quote a while ago. Secrecy, silence, and judgment. Those are the 3 things that shame needs to grow. The antidote for us all seems to be empathy. One good way to do it is to go the opposite direction. Tony Robbins, who's heard of Tony Robbins? Actually, brilliant guy, really good man. And he said, let's flood our mind with things that we're grateful for. This will overwhelm the shame. It might not make it disappear, but it feels so much better to be on the positive side of that. So for others, make them feel safe from your judgments. Now, who's heard about that? Well, let's not judge anybody unless we walked in their moccasins for a while or something like that. Let's not judge, least we be judged. So let's go into a meditation now. Here in this church, we're able to offer the sacrament of cannabis. It's been done for hundreds, if not thousands of years. You don't have to do that, have a designated driver. So if you want to come up and get some cannabis, then we can do that. So asking that the sacrament be blessed in a good way. And again, let's watch the cord there. Okay. Let's do this. I'm going to move this just a bit here.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I'm glad to be with you. Thank you, sir. Now again, you don't have to do this. Again, what the Native Americans do with their pipe with tobacco in it, they just take the bowl of the pipe and put it against their heart. They put the next person. So if you want to do this to increase the plasticity of your mind as a tool and nothing more, then see if this is actually good for you. Not all the time, but certainly here and now. Thank you, dear. Thank you. Sir. I saw you smiling earlier. I like it. Peace be with you. Peace be with you. Sir.
This helps not to sweat the small stuff.
Absolutely.
And it's all small stuff.
Chicken soup, yeah. Thank you. Let's see, are there adequate lighters around? Let's see. That's you. Thank you.
That's how that's
Hello,
go.
dear.
I know, that's pretty rude of me, but hey.
Bless you,
We were
sir.
talking about earlier, or am I gonna be
Hopefully Hopefully there's a few lighters about. Anybody have a lighter?
I just have to look for it.
Do we have any more lighters? Oh, there's one. If you have a cheap lighter, pass it back if you can.
I like it, really, what's coming through this thing. And then you see your thing.
Hello?
Always says something like, I'm really
We already opened some windows. That's good. So cannabis provides a certain elasticity of the mind, a certain plasticity to think about other things.
Free the mind. All things that bear seeds are for man's use.
Ah, say again?
All things that bear seeds are for man's use.
Yes. Yes.
I never heard that, I like it. Oh, that's not a Genesis.
Yes.
Yeah, cannabis is not a mistake by God.
No, it's not a mistake by God. And it is one of the incenses that was brought to Christ at the time of his birth.
I heard a stand-up comedian a while ago. He said, "Can you imagine what it would have been like if that had been offered at the Last Supper? And take the wine is my blood, and take this canvas, it's my hair." Bad joke. Forgive me for being sacrilegious on that one.
We have to be funny in order to be in good spirits.
There's no ceremony too serious for humor.
Well, it says, make a joyous sound unto the Lord.
Say again?
The Bible says, make a joyous sound unto the Lord.
Yeah. Speaking of sound.
What have you picked out for us?
I'm grateful for everyone here. Each person is unique. Each person has their story. Each person has talents to share and beauty to give if we only own ourselves. So go within for me now, and let us begin to meditate anymore. Therefore, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. Old things are passed away, and behold, all things have become new. Now that our past failures have been forgiven, we need to leave them there and press forward towards the things that God has for us in the future. Not only are we supposed to forget our pasts, but God Himself has chosen to completely forgive and will remember no more sins when you acknowledge them and ask for the forgiveness for yourself. Let us be safe away from our own judgments. You're better than that. Let us try to treat people as if they possess precious hearts and infinite souls, as you do. Forgive me my trespasses, as I forgive others. Make them feel ashamed. And you may notice something in your elasticity of the mind. You have a body, but you are not your body. Chop off an arm or a leg, it'll still be you. So what part of your body is you? None of it. Your body belongs to the earth and the elements. You have a mind, but you're not your mind. Your mind is used for calculation and planning, access to memories, and it's a tool. So stand back from it, watch the mind at play, and choose the thoughts that are good for you. I have a mind, but I'm not my mind. I have emotions. An emotion is an all-encompassing, overwhelming physical experience that we think that's all there is. But this too shall pass. Emotions change, sometimes every 5 minutes. So if I'm not my body, and not my mind, not my thoughts, not my feelings, who are you? I suggest that all of us, we are spirits, divine spirits, having a human experience. I want you to think now of replacing shame with something else. I want you to think of something that you're really proud of. Maybe something in your youth, or something that you worked on. Something you're really proud of. Maybe you thought you couldn't do it, but you did. What are you proud of? Go within now, eyes closed. And I want you to think of 3 things that you're really proud of. Doesn't have to be a big thing in the world. It's something that you did. I am proud of this. And this too, I'm proud of. And this too, I'm proud of. For that thing that I did. I remember when I was challenged and overcame my mind, my body, and my emotions. And I went for the brass ring and I got it. You did it once. In fact, you did it several times. You can do it again. I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. I now call in the greatness of the God of my understanding to guide me to shine and awaken in life and love now and for all my days. You might refer to that place where you put shame. You might call it, dearly beloved, I'm worthy. Shame has no place in my life. For I'm dearly beloved, and I love deeply others as well. And so it is. It's a good day today. It's a good day for being you. In this church, we're doing our best to create community. This is not just a dispensary for weed. This portends the possibility of you getting out there, sharing, shaking hands with a stranger, loving yourself, and that spark in your eyes, you can pass on to somebody else just by your willingness. Make people feel safe with empathy. Thanks for listening. Thanks for coming in today. Have a great week coming up, and hope to see you next week. Bring some friends in. Let's rock and roll. Let's get this done.
Good.
Oh, can I take these home with me? Can I? No, I'm just going to burn them. You don't need those anymore. They no longer exist.
Thank you.